In this video, you will see an example of how to install AlmaLinux for use with Crestron VC-4. Crestron VC-4 is also compatible with other versions of Linux. For more details on what versions are supported, please refer to the VC-4 product page. Linux is an open-source platform operating system. AlmaLinux is an open-source version of the Linux operating system. It is a community-driven Linux operating system. AlmaLinux can be installed on various computers, whether it is installed on a virtual machine or even replacing the operating system on a computer you may already own. If you choose to use an existing machine, be sure that Crestron VC-4 is the only thing that is running on it. This device should be dedicated to running Crestron Virtual Control only. There are minimum system requirements for running AlmaLinux and VC-4. The best reference for what specifications you need is to reference the product page. The CPU cores and RAM required will depend on how many devices you intend to use per room. Be sure to check the Crestron product page when planning to purchase a dedicated machine to be sure you're using the most up-to-date specification requirements. The requirements shown on the product page in this example may change over time. As with any operating system, certain steps must be taken to harden or secure the operating system. There is a dedicated video in this series that will cover that topic. To begin the installation process, you will need to download AlmaLinux. You need to decide where you will install AlmaLinux. It can be a physical, dedicated server, a virtual machine, or any other cloud-hosted virtual machine. Note that when installing on a physical machine, you need installation media, such as a bootable USB drive. In this example, we will install AlmaLinux on a virtual machine running on VMware Workstation Pro. This process is almost exactly the same whether you install AlmaLinux on a physical or virtual machine. You will need to download and use a supported version of AlmaLinux. Supported versions are mentioned on the product page. Next, go to almalinux.org and select the download option. There are a few options here, but we're going to download the x86_64 version 8.5. One of them, dvd.iso, is the largest file package necessary to do an offline installation. No need for internet access for the installation. In this example, our machine has internet access, so we will choose the minimal version. If you were installing AlmaLinux on a separate machine, we would need to create a bootable flash drive with the AlmaLinux installer on it. There are many options easily found on the internet for creating bootable flash drives. In this tutorial, we will use a tool called Rufus, which I have already downloaded. Next, run the Rufus executable file, select the AlmaLinux ISO package, and make sure your USB drive shows up under the device selection to be selected. The rest of the options should be left as default to create the file. Select Start and write ISO image mode. This process will take several minutes to complete. Once this is done copying all the files, we will have a bootable USB flash drive. We can plug it into our target physical server machine during the installation process. Since we are showing the installation on VMware Workstation Pro, we do not need a bootable flash drive. Please note that the installation procedure is very similar for a physical machine or a virtual machine. We start by selecting New Virtual Machine and choose the typical installation. We will need to select the disk image we downloaded earlier in this video. For our Linux install, we will select CentOS 8 64-bit and rename it to AlmaLinux, since AlmaLinux is not in the drop-down list. Be sure to pick at least 100 GB minimum, as specified on the VC-4 product page. For RAM, we will use 4 GB. Then, we will choose our language and time zone and create a root password and user. Under the Software section, we have the installation source set to local media. Under Software Selection, Minimal is selected by default, which is okay in this example. On the far right here under System, we can click on the hard disk and add specialized and network disks here if needed. In this case, the storage configuration is automatic. When complete, select the Done button here. Under Network and Host Name, we will enable the network and start the installation. Note that this will reboot the system. It will then go through the installation process of AlmaLinux. You will need to enter the username and password you created here.